Hi, I wanted to talk a bit today about my old eating habits. I think it's, especially with what's going on at the moment, everything that's going on at the moment, it would be good for me to discuss my eating habits because it may make somebody think, well, I eat like that. It is actually possible to change those habits. I had various problems with food and issues around food. I binged, I grazed, I'm a food hoarder, still am. I have various issues with food, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I've always been I've always been on the bigger side. Let's say I've always had a bit of puppy fat, as somebody liked to call it when I was younger, but it just never went away. My eating habits have always been quite poor. It was I At sort of 12, I was sort of 12 stone, 13, probably 13 stone, 14 stone, you get my drift. And I moved in with I started work at 18. I've worked in care since I started work. I've worked in various care settings. I've worked with mental health rehab, tends to be the mental health route. Worked in learning disabilities as well for a number of years. So I've worked in various care settings, and obviously shift work is a big part of that. No longer do shifts at the moment, but shift work is obviously a big part of my life for many years, and didn't help with my weight loss at all. I have tried various plans throughout my life. I think I went to my first probably diet club when I was probably about 12 or 13 with my mum. The first one we did, I think, was Weight Care from South Lincolnshire. I think that's still going. Some of them are. I think I googled it a few months ago, and I think it is still going. So Weight Care I tried Rosemary Conley, Slimming World more times than you can count, Weight Watchers on various occasions. When I started work, it was Slimming World I was doing. So I started work at 18, went into mental health rehab. Shift work is not good. Travelling past McDonald's is not good. So when it comes to food, I don't have the best relationship around food. So that was when I was 18. I then moved to Birmingham to live with my partner when I was 21, 22, and I went to learning disabilities, started working in learning disabilities. A lot of home cooking in learning disabilities, which obviously didn't help at all, plus the fact that it's long shifts. It's like 12, 13-hour shifts, which didn't help. Night shifts are a killer as well, so it all added up, and I got bigger and bigger. When I moved in with my partner, I think I was probably around 20 stone, and I just kept getting bigger. I'd lose a bit on various plans, and then I'd put it back on again. So when I went into learning disabilities, then I moved to another home, and the home cooking was terrible. I used to work with two women that were really, really good cooks, and it was a nightmare, and they were as bad as me. So it was terrible. We'd plan our whole day around the meals with the residents, and what we were going to cook them. It was horrendous. The residents used to eat brilliantly. And then obviously we'd all sit and eat together, so it was terrible. A lady there that I did work with, she was a big fan of Weight Watchers, and she was one of the proper Weight Watchers that would go and get all of the Weight Watchers food, so all of the Weight Watchers bread. She'd get everything, and we'd stick to it, all of us, for a couple of days, and then it would just go to pot again. The usual story. So that was my first sort of thingy into Weight Watchers, actually, doing that when I was probably about 22, 23. So that's my first sort of thing with Weight Watchers, and then all the other times it has literally been Slimming World. It was Rosemary Conley and Weight Care when I was at home with my mum, and then it switched to Weight Watchers then, and then it went back to Slimming World again. So I've worked for years in in learning disabilities. Then I changed to older adult mental health, which is obviously people with enduring mental health problems and also people with dementia. So very physically demanding job. And even, I mean, I was probably around 28 stone when I started that job, going up to my heaviest at 31 stone, 1 pound. Long shifts, night shifts thrown in as well, and the fact that because you're doing a lot of personal care with people, and early morning starts. I wasn't a breakfast eater, but I would go and get McDonald's breakfast before I even started sometimes, and then probably occasionally we'd go to the cafe instead, but that would probably around 11, 12 o'clock. So that wasn't good for my eating habits either. I wouldn't eat a huge amount in front of people. I didn't want people to know exactly how much I was eating. So we would go to the cafe and I'd have a sandwich, but that's all I would have, would be a sandwich. But then when I got home, I would literally just sit and graze for hours. It was a nightmare. That's literally all I'd do. Then if I was stressed, you'd have the binge eating chucked into that as well. Because I worked shift work, I'd have days off in the week when my partner wasn't here, and I'd just spend all day eating. I'd literally sit in front of a computer and just spend all day eating while playing games. That's all I would do. Wouldn't really go out, and it would be takeaways. A hell of a lot of takeaways, a hell of a lot of convenience food, and I would do the biggest plate of food and just eat it all. Even if it took me like a couple of hours, I would literally just eat it all. Like I said, my eating habits were really poor. I'd probably eat a big chocolate bar a day. I'd eat massive packs of crisps, or I'd eat multi-packs of crisps. My eating habits were totally out of control. I then went to community work, which was when I really started to struggle, because parking and walking wasn't easy. Walking into work for a weekly meeting wasn't easy, and I then started to think, I'm 35, I was turning 35, and it's like, do you know what, I really need to do something now. I had a friend who was continually saying, do you want to start Slimming World, do you want to start Slimming World? And I thought, yeah, I think it's time that I did something. That's when my partner sat me down and gave me the talk that was my light bulb moment, which was, only you control what you eat. And it's true. I'm the only one that decides what I put in my mouth. I'm the only one that decides what I eat. So at that point, that was when everything changed, and I sort of thought, do you know what, I need to take total responsibility for this. I need to change. That's when I started Slimming World. Did that for 8 months, lost 7 stone, 6 pounds. Then I switched to Weight Watchers at the time, or WW, did the old Smart Points plan, which is like the green plan. And I lost over 9 stone 9 I lost with that before it switched to blue. I did get to goal on blue, but it was slow going. The blue plan really doesn't suit me that well at all. But got to goal on it. Then I switched to the old no count plan, which unfortunately isn't available anymore, which is kind of similar to purple but not really. I maintained on that for an awful long time. Very, very happy that the green plan is back, or the old Smart Points plan literally for me is back, because it means that I can eat the foods that I like and enjoy. I don't feel restricted. I literally point everything, I weigh everything, so it really does suit me very well. It suits my lifestyle and it suits me very well. So when it comes to my eating habits, that's how I've changed. I used Slimming World when I did that to literally cut all rubbish out of my diet. I didn't eat cakes, biscuits, crisps. I thought, you know what, I really need to abstain from this. I need to step back and stop eating it. Did that for 8 months. Then when I started WW, that's when I started introducing those foods back in, and thought, you know what, I can have a chocolate bar and not go mad. I can have a bag of crisps. I do have that self-control. I just needed to learn that I had that self-control. So it is possible. Changing your eating habits is definitely possible, and changing your attitudes around food is possible. Where binge eating is concerned, it was having that break and abstaining, which makes me then think when I do reach for those foods, hang on a minute, I don't need to do this. I really don't. That's the thing. I mean, it does happen. I will have a binge eating episode occasionally, and it does happen. But it's trying to put strategies in place and learning about the reasons why you do some of the things that you do. I tend to do it when I'm stressed and when I'm upset. So I try to step back and think at those times instead of grabbing the food and trying to get as much in as I possibly can. So it's not easy, but it really is possible. And when it comes to bad food habits, we all have them, but it's just about trying to think about why you're doing them and just trying to change small things at a time, just to try and knock yourself out and try and knock yourself away from doing those things that you've been doing for years, and they are ingrained. I could very easily fall back into those bad eating habits, but I really, really try not to. Getting into good habits and routines obviously helps a lot. At the moment, everybody's routine has changed. I've spent the past week and a bit just trying to ingrain new habits and routines, and I've managed to do that. It's not easy, but I have managed to change my routines and sort of get onto a new track. Anyway, I hope everybody's safe and well. I hope my rambling makes sense. I sometimes sit here and think, I'm sure my rambling doesn't make any sense. But thank you for tuning in. I hope this helps somebody, and thank you very much. Bye.